This podcast contains explicit content not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. Parental discretion is advised.
Today's episode is a continuation of our last episode's conversation. Thank you for joining us.
So through Ronin Project, what other things have you been exposed to that you wouldn't normally have been able to be?
Well, I was invited to submit a proposal for this organization called My Dog Is My Home, and they wanted my views on ending homelessness for people and pets, which of course is, I'm going to talk about my experiences. If I'm selected, I'm going to talk about my experiences and with homelessness and living in the street and being incarcerated. And I honestly think programs like our career crafting program is the answer, right? I think it's the answer to a lot of things. I think if you have real programs set up in areas, right? If you think about a career crafted program, what it could do in an urban environment where people have all but pretty much given up when the kids, you got a program where these teenagers could go in and there are skills that they can learn. It's all skill based, right? They want to work with cars, or they want to work with wood or work with animals. They can learn the skills outside of that normal classroom thing, but they also have people they can connect with and learn life skills, right? Maybe they need to learn how to shave. Maybe they don't understand how to grocery shop, but they have to figure this stuff out, right? Career crafting program where you give people the power to have the say and control over their own life. That's how you end it.
Things that existed when your mom was younger, maybe your whole life would have been different.
Yeah, absolutely. If my mom found something that she could do that made her feel good about herself, that she enjoyed doing, but because she was undereducated and honestly terrified of life, right? She just did what she could do. And all it did was make her more miserable. When you miserable already and you going and you have to do the most miserable jobs because that's all your education will allow you to get, and it's just and you working your ass off and you still can't pay your bills, it just adds to your misery.
Yeah.
And then you raise kids in that.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Like that, but all of these things don't make sense to me. Why in this country, in this day and age, there aren't more programs uplifting the people and teaching the people that it don't have to be you or me and you, it can be us.
Well, I think that there is an outcry for community because, like you said, for example, you know how many people that you were incarcerated with that are now either have created their own nonprofit like you, or they're working with a nonprofit to help spread positivity and things like that. But I mean, it seems like more of the dudes that you personally like spoke to and was with, it's funny how you all are going down that same path of positivity.
But
you know what I mean?
I mean, that's not coincidental. That's just individuals I chose to associate with while I was incarcerated, right? You gotta think, you want a camp, your average camp's got 1,000 people on it.
Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is that there's still people in the system trying to fight to make it better. So it's not like everybody's just like, oh,
Oh, no.
But I feel like there is becoming more positivity because more people are saying, hey, this isn't okay. We need to do better.
Well, yeah, you got fathers coming home from prison after 10, 12 years and looking at the destruction that's taking place in some of their neighborhoods. Right. And there's no other word for it but destruction. Right.
And now they just want to save their kids.
So now they're like, oh my God, I gotta
break the cycle.
Let me teach them because I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know, and I did this. And this is the impression or the image or the information I left behind. And then I was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then when I come back, I'm like, man, I got new information now. Right. I've expanded my knowledge. I got new information now. Let me try and get this to them, because look what happened in just a short amount of time. Look what's happening in a short amount of, you go to the 90s or the 80s. We'll go to the 80s, right? Look at the 80s to now. That's not really a long time.
No, it's like 50 years.
But look,
40 years.
Look at these inner city neighborhoods, right? Let's look at the violence. Let's look at the level of violence that is being doled out by little kids now. Little kids. So if we continue at the pace that we're going, what are we going to look like in another 30 years? By the time I'm 60, how are we going to be looking? You see what I'm saying? So I feel like right now, a lot of fathers who are coming home from prison and have realized their mistakes or have looked back and seen that the information they had wasn't accurate, they're trying to do something about it, because they realize that this is a critical state that we're in. Not just for impoverished neighborhoods in the inner city, but rural communities as well. Because everything that happens in the city eventually goes into the country, right? And these kids are think about, David, right now, if I talk to you, right, and I ask you, what would you say the value of life is to your average 13-year-old in the South Side of Chicago?
Oh man, they probably ain't thinking they're gonna make it to being an adult, so they already living in that kind of mentality.
You see
Like,
what I'm
oh,
saying?
if I can make it to 18, I done did something.
So
So yeah, once you really kind of have that mentality, I understand that you really gonna die in your mind early. Can you imagine how you be living?
and that's my point, right? So if you got kids now 10, 12, 13, 14 years old, they like, man,
They say I only got 5 years. I
man,
better get it.
if I make it to next year, I'm happy, right?
Yeah.
So it don't even matter. They gonna kill me, so I'm gonna kill as many as them as I can before I go. Because I
Gotta
don't
do it
care what I
all.
feel.
I only got 5 years. I gotta do everything, dude.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's how that's how their mind is starting to be trained as children. They starting to develop mindsets like they gonna kill me anyway, so I'm just gonna kill as many of them as I can in the process before they
Yep.
get me.
Yep. Yep. Cause they
So
gonna get me. They gonna get me eventually. So I
so
gotta get mine.
life really has no value anymore to them.
No
So
value. There you go.
what's going to be the value of life in another 20 years if we continue at this pace?
Well, not only
But
that,
and
but
look,
value their own life. How are they going to value anybody else's?
yep.
Exactly.
And look, and I ain't trying to get too deep with it, but y'all just making me think of this when you talk about value. And don't forget about how AI is gonna make us much less valuable as human beings too, right?
I
The
don't
AI and the
agree with that.
robots.
I work in AI.
I mean,
I
You'll
think
find out
AI
in a
is
few
a
years.
tool, just like social media is a tool. AI is a tool that can be
I,
used, but yeah, it can be misused, but it's basically whoever is using it. You know what I mean? I think AI is just another tool to make people's lives a little easier. But there is, like you said, David, there is the other side to that. You know what I mean? Where you do have to be a little bit careful because AI is not emotionally intelligent. It is not a person. It's not this superhuman intelligent person on the other screen. It's literally a computer program that was built to run to give you responses and to pull information. You know what I mean? So it is still flawed because we talked about it a little bit previously with AI is that it was built in a world of bias. When you are built on bias, all you will do is multiply bias. So that is the things now that people are realizing is, hey, how do we eliminate this bias? But the bias is very human.
Man, that's scary that you said the AI was built on bias.
I
And
mean,
that just
the program itself isn't, but but look at the information in the world that it's pulling from.
right,
So
exactly.
we may have a perfect tool, but if you're shoving in information that is biased or inaccurate or untrue or not vetted, is it not the same as our children? You see where I'm going?
Yeah, I see the analogy.
And let's be honest, kids are using AI more, so they are using that as their who is giving them the information.
Yeah, that is their information. That is how they get their information.
Even if that information is biased, but they don't know that because a lot of people don't look at the world that way.
Yeah.
But you were saying, Jesse?
Yeah, I was just saying, man, y'all talking about AI, but damn that. How scary is the city gonna be? How scary is it gonna be? School, how scary is school gonna be? If we continue at this pace in 20 years, what that generation gonna look like?
I mean, we have more school shootings. I mean, school shootings didn't even really start happening until the 90s. Think about that. Wasn't Columbine one of the first school shootings? Yeah, back in the 90s. And that's what I'm saying. School shootings weren't a thing before the 90s.
Can I tell y'all what's going to happen? And I just kind of have a little more advanced knowledge living in Chicago all this time. All that's going to happen. And you see it already happen. You just get more desensitized and expect it. So it doesn't bother you that much. Just think we can't even count. Wasn't it just some school shootings going on just a few weeks ago? It doesn't even really make the news and stuff anymore, doesn't it? And I'm not talking about the Brown University. Wasn't it another one that happened at a high school? It seemed like just.
Well, Evergreen High School had a shooting not that long ago. At the same time, they had a shooting at the Walmart in Evergreen. And so and it was because of somebody on the interstate. It was a road rage incident where they followed the person to, off the interstate to the Walmart and shot them. But that's the whole thing is that, and I personally am, guilty of this myself is letting yourself be in the moment and not really taking in everything. Like, am I in a rush? Do I need to be somewhere right now? Or am I just inconvenienced? And right. I feel like nowadays, a lot of people use the excuse of being personally inconvenienced to be able to create destructive behaviors. And that doesn't help society or community, because community is about coming together. But it seems like society nowadays is more about, how do I feel about this? Or how does this affect me? And if it's not about me, then I don't care. And I don't know.
My feelings on the whole child parenting aspect, they would definitely, in my mind, I think as generation, and at first I used to really isolate it into just, of course, me being African American, but I think it's more all the races, and it's a generational kind of thing where I think it was a generation that thought maybe their parents were too hard on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt like they wanted to be friends with their kids and lighten the reins of the whole dynamic of parent and child. And then that's when that whole kind of disintegration happened with the children. Our parents wanted us to be, they wanted us to understand, like you said, that this was important to them. They wanted us to understand what you just talked about a second ago with that Call of Duty. They wanted us to be respectful out in public. That was important to them.
That was more important than your feelings or your ass.
Than our happiness? Than us being happy? Oh, of course it was. Right?
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'll be honest with you. To me, I be seeing a lot of parents that seem like they just lost and don't know what to do. I feel bad for them, because you can't get mad at the kids for just being kids. Because if they see that they don't have any direction and nobody's kind of running the show, they're just going to be who they are.
I mean, they're going to test their boundaries, and they're going to keep pushing until they find out what their lines are. And if you don't have a line, then they will just keep pushing. I do want to bring back and ask Jesse about, in regards to the 2-year anniversary, is we talked a little bit about, Ronin Project and the My Dog Is My Home, you know what I mean? Are there any expectations that you feel are harder than you thought they were going to be coming home, where you thought it would be a little easier in this area, but instead you actually found it to be a little bit harder than you were expecting? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, just interacting with people. I felt like I was really excited when I was getting out. Like I would actually talk to some of the guys like, I can't wait to just go and tell a woman that that her hair look nice, or that she's got a nice smile, or she's pretty, or that I like her dress. Because I couldn't do these things. And you know what I'm saying? Even if you've seen an attractive woman while you was in prison, right, that worked there, you can't tell her she look good. Shit. Not well, some of them you could, right? But then you always had to, it's always a gamble, right? Because you
had to be careful how you word it, or
and then chances are you're not getting to spend a lot of time around the ones who look like that, right? So getting to know them and finding out if they'd be okay to accept a compliment, and that's just crazy, just to be able to compliment her
without her being offended.
No, not even just her being offended, because it's fraternizing. So now she could be one of those like, oh, I don't want to lose my job for you, and she'll write you a charge for it. And now I'm losing good time. I got to stay in prison longer. When I got out, I was looking forward to getting out, being able to compliment women, but you can't really do that out here, right? Like you can't really approach a woman and talk to her out here. We talked about that on here before.
Yeah.
So I ain't getting into it, all of that, but just communicating with people in general. And I guess I don't know if my body language or what it is about me. Most dudes that I interact with, especially since I've been out here in Colorado, right? These, normal white people, they be like uncomfortable around me. So then I got the women who don't want to be approached. They don't want to be talked to. They don't want men to approach them anymore. So you a weirdo if you even try to talk to a woman and tell her she's pretty. And then the dudes, I don't even know what type time they on. So I just don't even be trying to interact with them. So I guess interacting with people is probably the most challenging aspect.
You thought would be a little easier?
Yeah, I've actually found, and I was a little surprised about this considering how I look, with the tattoos and everything like that. It's actually been older people who have been more warm and receptive to me communicating with them. I guess because I communicate old-fashioned. I'm going to look you in the eyes and talk to you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to talk to you through a computer screen. And I've been more receptive and had a better reaction from elderly people. Like, I'm talking about old people. Not even my age.
Well, that's what we're saying.
Not my parents' age.
The older generations,
like,
that community was.
Like when I meet grandma, grandpa, like a lot of times they'll go out their way to talk to them. The other day at the store. Just the other day at the store, I had this elderly gentleman just start talking to me right in the aisle. Right?
Oh, he was looking like he couldn't wait to talk to Jesse either. Let me tell you. Because I forget what it was. We were doing something. It was like a pet thing, or we were looking at something, and he just was just started talking to him. Just, you know what I mean?
And then couldn't wait, right? Was talking to me about how he was in AA and how he had gotten sober, and right, just random dude. I don't even know his name.
Right.
But anybody my age or anybody younger, right? Or a lot of people like my mom and my dad's age, right? And your age group, David. Got no kick it, don't got no time, don't care, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was actually surprising to me.
Without even getting to know him. That's just based off of the way he carries himself, his energy, his look. So it's like they're not even giving him the opportunity.
I walked into the grocery store the other day, and there was a group of like 7 or 8, looked like teenage boys, maybe seniors in high school. Maybe one of them was big. Every bit of 300 pounds.
Right.
But when I walked up to them, all right, I'm not really paying them no attention. I'm going to get a shopping cart. The whole group, man, I'm just watching their body language. And that's something I really picked up on in prison, because you have to, right?
Yeah.
You get stabbed before you know it if you ain't really paying attention to people's body language. Right? You got to be able to pick up on things. So I pay attention to their body language as I'm walking up to them. I'm not really paying them no attention, but their whole group just stiffen up. right? They stopped talking. The big one, the real big one, he really looked nervous, like I was gonna approach him.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, you big like that for what? That's all I could think. But then that was my first thought. You big like that for what? You just get nervous as soon as I walk up to you, and I don't even pay no attention. But then it was like, man, then I started thinking to myself, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me that I'm making these people nervous just by walking up to get a shopping cart? What am I doing?
Believe it or not, it's a thing.
Is it my look? Is it how I walk? Is it how I move? What? I don't understand.
I told him it's his energy. I think it's like, because you can tell, because I personally don't tell. I got to pay better attention. But there have been times where we have met with people, business owners, in regards to Ronin Project. And when I'm talking with them, when it's me talking with them one-on-one, it's like openness and friendliness and, all of these things. And then when I'm like, oh, let me introduce you to my director of operations, and I pull Jesse over, Jesse's like, he can just instantly see
they get nervous, their body stiffen up.
And so he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, you're not doing anything. Me personally, I'm like, I didn't see it, but I'm also, looking at different things. Does that make sense? Because my experiences are different. So I'm looking at like, okay, this person, maybe you did make him nervous, but let's be honest. Was it a female? Was it a male? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel like Jesse intimidates females because he is an attractive guy. You know what I mean? And he is very direct, and not a lot of females are used to that, if that makes sense, in today's society of men. And so, but when it comes to men, I have seen people kind of get a little nervous around him. But I told him, I think it's just one of those things where, how everybody can sense a prey or predator, right? And I was like, I think it's just his energy. It's just one of those things where people can just recognize that he's different, but not in like a bad way, but just in a way that they're like not comfortable with, they're not familiar with. So because he's unfamiliar, it's like an unfamiliar type of feeling. And because those kids probably had never been in a situation where they had to react like that, if that makes sense. But I bet you the kids in Southside Chicago wouldn't have. I feel like it's just
I would just be true. Dude, all you gotta do is be true to yourself, man.
Yeah, and so I told him, like, just do you.
Always be yourself. Don't ever change. There's nothing worse than somebody not being true to themselves. Don't ever feel like, oh, I gotta change or talk this way or act this way or any of that kind of stuff. You gotta be true to yourself, and then let everything else happen. Because guess what you do know about your energy? It's all positive and love. So if they ain't catching it, that's on them. You act like you coming off with energy like when you see people, you're not coming off with any energy like, ooh, I'm the predator and I want to do, you know what I mean?
Coming off aggressive. It's just that he comes off intense is my thing.
No, see, to me, I think that's just their perception.
And that's the whole thing. That's why I was like, it's a perception, but it's also like, just because he's intense and his energy can be more intense and more focused. And I think that's what it is. People nowadays don't really feel seen anymore. And Jesse can definitely make you feel seen. And I think that makes people uncomfortable because they're not used to it. And that's what it really comes down to, is just not being exposed to, different personalities.
They're not used to that kind of reaction. I mean, that kind of interaction. And that's why he probably worked better with old people. Because old people used to look in because guess what an old person would tell you if you wasn't looking them in their eyes? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, what's wrong? Or they
are you talking to me and not looking me in the face like a man?
What you hiding?
Look up. Yeah, don't look down and talk to me.
Purposely misleading, or are you trying to be deceitful? Because that's what the impression is.
So I think that would probably be my biggest like I wasn't prepared for when I came. I wasn't prepared for people to react to me the way that they did. And a lot of times it goes back to what I was saying. I have came home to a completely different environment.
Please join us as we continue this conversation in our next episode.